So just a reminder that we're recording. So maybe just stay on mute for most of the call. And then we'll have some time at the end to do a Q&A. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. Also, it says that I'm a sod butt on the bottom. I am taking over hosting this call from today. Can't figure out how to change the name, but I am as well. And I'm going to share my screen. Okay, great. And I'm just going to present here. So thank you all for joining today. This is our webinar on community building for pet care startups, both online and offline, with Shayna Denny. This is a photo of Shayna. You can also see her in the window. And we are so lucky to have her today. So she is the co-founder and CEO of Dog Drop, which is a new type of dog daycare. They just opened their first location in the Arts District in Los Angeles. I went a couple weeks ago. It is such a cool space, and I'm sure she'll be showing us some photos. You can see on the left an adorable photo of her dog Poppy, and on the right, that's Shayna and her co-founder Greer, who is also hosting a webinar next week on web and product development. So I recommend RSVPing for that webinar as well. And before we get started, just a couple of details. It's going to be about a 20-minute presentation followed by 20 minutes of Q&A. Please stay muted the entire length of the call just for the presentation. And then during the Q&A, you can ask some questions in the chat window or chime in. You can also ask questions throughout the presentation in the chat window. And be sure to introduce yourself as well. And this session is also being recorded, like I said before. And just a little bit about Leap Ventures. So Leap Ventures was created a few years ago when there's a lot more pet startups coming into the space, and we realized that they were being underinvested in, and there weren't many platforms for them to find support and scale and grow. And so Leap Ventures is one of the first programs designed to ignite meaningful growth across the pet care ecosystem, and is a partnership between Michelson Found Animals and Kinship, which is a division of Mars Pet Care. And the two programs that Leap Ventures offers is, the first is the Leap Venture Academy, which is what is hosting this call today. And this is a space for all pet care startups to find support through our online webinars, through pitch competitions, meetups. We had our first boot camp in the fall, and as well as access to mentors, advisors, and funding. And this is for any stage of growth. If you're just figuring out what you want to do, if you've identified a problem, all the way through looking for funding, the Leap Venture Academy is a great place to find support. On our other program is the Leap Venture Studio, and we are going into our third year of the Leap Venture Studio. There's one cohort per year that runs from February to May for 6 to 8 startups. There's programming in Los Angeles and New York, as well as online programming, and you can receive up to $200,000 in funding. Applications close in December, but we will be opening again in the fall. And if you're curious about this or the Leap Venture Academy programs, I recommend going to our website to learn more. And if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, please email us at leapventurestudio@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and I recommend joining the Slack channel. The Kinship Slack channel is a great place to ask questions and learn more about our programs. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and pass it over to Shayna to get started on our call.
Hey everyone, I know everyone's muted, but be sure to stay active in the chat box, and I'll be consistently looking at it to see if we have questions going up. I do want this to be somewhat interactive, so if you can stay with me there. Let's share the screen. Are we on? Cool. So I started a company about a year ago, almost exactly, with my co-founder Greer, called Dog Drop. And I don't want to go too far into our business specifically, but I do want to speak about some things that really helped us get to where we are. As Isabel mentioned, we just launched our first location. We are a dog daycare, doing a new kind of dog daycare membership model, building out multiple physical locations and starting in Los Angeles. Did someone ask something? Okay, I'll continue. Feel free to ask me questions in the chat box. So first I want to start with what is community, right? I think that's really what we want to speak about today. And what's really different is how businesses are building community in now 2020. Because especially through social media, we have an opportunity to engage with our customers in a way that was never really, companies were never able to do before. So when I think about how Dog Drop defines community, that's not based solely on our brand's product or service, but we're providing a space for like-minded individuals with a shared interest, which for us, it's the dogs. And when we build our community, we're not pushing our dog drop and dog daycare services, but we're pushing kind of our vision and our lifestyle and providing a platform for people to share that common interest. So this is really an opportunity for brands to form a we experience with their customers rather than a me and them. So typically a lot of brands, they kind of are really throwing on their vision and their values and not providing a lot of space for their customers to provide feedback and to have it go both ways. So I think this is what brands have a huge opportunity to learn, especially from their customers, how they can do better. So why is community important? And I think this goes for any business and any industry, right? So I kind of broke it into the four main components of why building community is critical for a brand today. Obviously, brand awareness, feedback. So when we think about brand awareness, it's someone discovering your brand. That's quite obvious. And then the feedback component comes into, do they like this service? Do they like this product? And how can we grow? If we're a brand, we want to learn, and continuously iterate. The third component is customer success. And this is really important. And I think this is what brands can really capitalize on. When you start building a community, you'll start building brand advocates that can then lead your other customers to be successful, rather if that's in customer experience, customer success, and helping answer questions. The last part is the brand loyalty. But like I said, that'll go through, and those will work with any brand in any industry. But what I really want to talk about today is what's specific in pet care. And at Dog Drop, we've really focused on trust and credibility. I think we have some people, if everyone can mute their screen. Okay, great. I'll continue. And feel free to put questions in the chat box as we go. So first I want to talk about online, right? So we're going to talk about online and offline. And I think for a huge myth is that people need to be posting everywhere. We have LinkedIn, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, everything and beyond. But for us, and I think most people here with limited resources, we want to focus on one core platform that your audience is already super active on and you can engage there. So if anyone can just kind of write in the chat group about what platforms that they're using and what ones they really see their customers super active on. And at the same time, I want to talk about what we've seen at Dog Drop. For Dog Drop and building community, and especially in the pet space, we have visuals of dogs and animals. I think a lot of us here are super lucky that we have such cute and viral content. I've worked in a lot of different industries, even selling hardware and other electric vehicles and cameras, and it's not as exciting than sharing photos of dogs. So I see people are mainly using Instagram here. That's Cool Skins. Facebook is very active for I'm My Canine. Facebook, Instagram, less Twitter. Okay, Instagram. Perry's using a lot of Twitter. So for us, I think it's also important to think, what is your goal for social media? Our goal was to build community. So I think Instagram's a great way. If we're using Twitter, it depends how engaging you can be, but people can, you can DM. Twitter's awesome for customer success, so you can help people out with questions. And Lucia, with that case, is on everything. She's on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. All right, she's got it all down. So I want to focus how we were able to build an online community. And this is kind of specifically to what we've done on Instagram, but I think you can take a lot of these tools and integrate them on any platform that works best for your service and product and where your audience is engaged. So at Dog Drop, we wanted to first identify people who show an interest in what we're building. So how do we identify people online, right? For us, that's really what we're doing. If I create a personification of someone who I think is interested in my product, I might say they shop at Warby Parker and they hang out around downtown Los Angeles and they eat ice cream at Salt and Straw. So, right, I'm kind of creating a few kind of core behaviors, and then I can go onto those Instagram pages and see who checked in under there, and I can start identifying people and now matching and finding someone who ate ice cream at Salt and Straw. And now if I go on their Instagram and I see that they have a dog, right? And that kind of is an overlap. So for us, that's initially how we started seeing who might be interested in our product. And then the next part would be to create real and meaningful relationships, right? Rather than just following someone and liking their photos, what's that next part of engagement? For a lot of people, that's you can go from a simple double click, a like on Instagram, to even leaving a comment. But then how to take it the next step further is maybe even a DM. So direct messaging them, understanding what they like to do, and maybe inviting them and telling them about your product and service, but not in a way to just push and sell them something, but to have them discover and maybe even learn from them as well. And then what's really critical, and for us, and I think this is especially important when your business scales, is to build community leaders who will then help amplify your online effect, right? So there's only so much time that we can have, especially, I think most people, it looks like in the group, are founders. I'm guessing most people have a team about 5 people or less. I'm here. So until you have someone fully dedicated online for customer experience and building community, we need as much help as possible. And that really comes from having these community leaders spread the word for you. And like any relationship, and we'll talk about this a bit more in our presentation, but it's important for it to be mutually beneficial, right? So we could only ask so many people, can you share my post? Can you like, can you follow us? But what are you giving back to these community leaders? And what are you giving back to anyone following you, right? So an example is even as simple as resharing their content too, and following up with them and engaging with them to see what they need. So for us at Dog Drop, even before we launched, we didn't have a lot to offer them. We don't have a physical product or good that we can send them as a thank you. We didn't have a space. So how can we still learn to engage with them and give back to them? I think you really need to find a way to get creative. Someone in room 10 can mute their microphone. The next part I really am interested to speak about, and this is something that was, I think at Dog Drop, we're super proud of how we've been able to build our offline community at actual events. So for us, one of our core missions is to become a physical platform for dog parents everywhere. We're super lucky that our business has the physical space as well. But before we had the space, we needed to get creative. And actually, we wanted to learn a lot about our potential customers' behaviors. So we thought, hey, what's the best way to get to know people and get feedback? Maybe that's throwing events. A lot of people think you need a lot of cash to throw awesome events and have a strong kind of presence, but we found a few ways to get creative. So I want to share with you some things that worked really well for us, and hopefully you can take some of those learnings. One of our core goals was to start with, what is our goal of throwing offline events? And that was to build trust and credibility, especially, and that goes back to why I said why community building is so critical in the pet space, is because we're dealing with people's babies essentially. I know for me, Poppy is ultimately, I feel like I may or may not have given birth to her. I'm like, she's super my baby. Everything I would do for her. I'm very cautious about what she eats and where she goes. Any products and services, I make sure that they're all natural. And I think, of course, in our line of work, we really understand how important the dog's health is. So maybe we go a step further, but most people are really gaining on the trend of humanization in dogs. So to build trust and credibility, especially people are dropping their dogs off at Dog Drop. So we wanted first to throw events, and they can be super low cost. So an example I wanted to say was a few months ago, we had a hike at Griffith Park. I mean, we maybe spent $50 on food from Costco. We ended up getting 50, I think we had around 50 or 60 people go to our picnic and hike. So here's a photo of some people hiking. During this time, they were actually able to speak to our team, right? So that when we did open our dog daycare, some of these customers said, hey, like, oh, I know those Dog Drop girls, right? I went on a hike with them. Like, we got pizza together. All of these things is really building that trust and reliability. Okay, Susan, that's a really good question. So on the right side of the slide, you will see that's actually a picture someone took at our pre-launch party. So we had a lot of really awesome dog Instagram influencers there. You can see from 20,000 to almost 200,000 followers. And Susan asked, how did we get these influencers to come to our event? So this is like before just inviting someone to your event, start building a relationship with them. So before, and we haven't paid any influencers, we haven't done any Instagram ads or any media buying in that matter. And we actually started building relationships with all of these dogs one by one. So Bowser is on the left. You can see there, he's always dressed quite nicely, always has a tie on. His dad, David, is super awesome. They live in LA, and we just started, DMing each other on Instagram, learning more about Bowser. He first came to another event that they showed up at because they learned about our brand. And after we started that relationship, we were able to invite them to our events and even have them post for us. But what's really important is they weren't posting because they were paid ads or paid posts, but they were posting because they were genuinely excited about what we were doing. So it really comes back to part one of how to build community is building relationships first. So Susan, hope you kind of that answers your question. And I will add on, it's important to, like I said, have that mutually beneficial relationship so that you're not just DMing someone, hey, will you reshare? Hey, like you want, like, but what are you giving back to them? It needs to be two ways, or that's not building community at all. Another part to build the trust and credibility. So you must have, you want to build the trust and credibility with your potential customers, but how do you also share that you're a leader in that space? So for us at Dog Drop, we actually co-hosted a pet tech panel at Angel City Brewery in downtown Los Angeles. And we got together with General Assembly. It's another company out here. They have some presence in LA. And we said, hey, we want to host a panel and invite people to learn more about what's going on in the pet space and technology and how we're all making the world a better place for pets to live in. So we were able to organize this event and then invite some people who are thought leaders in the space. So we invited, I'm sure many of you guys are familiar with Ben Jacobs from Mars, another female founder who's in LA named Ray Kawano, who has Heed Foods, and then Karin, who is the founder of Vetted Pet Care. So we got together other leaders in that space because not only is community important for customers, but you also want to build community. And that's what's so unique about even what Leap is doing with the Leap Academy and all of their events is bringing people in pet tech together. I'm not sure about everyone's background here on this webinar, but my background, I've worked in a few different industries, and not every industry are you able to become so close with other founders where it doesn't just feel like a competition, but everyone's really working together to share resources and their experience in a very genuine way. And then this also shows that if your brand is working with some other leaders in the space, it adds that other sense of credibility. Other parts of building an offline community is definitely just that the brand awareness and feedback. So throwing events to the left is an example of an event we threw at a dog. It was called Puppies and Planks. I don't know if anyone else attended that in Los Angeles. This was actually one of our first events we had, and we were super excited. We don't have a physical product or service at this time, and this was probably 8 months before we even opened our dog daycare, but we wanted to learn from people and see and talk to pet parents, and there's no better way to do that but then to also see pet parents while they're with their dogs and to learn from their behaviors and what they would look for in a dog daycare. And here's just a quick video of one of our picnics and stuff. So you can see they're very low key. You don't need a lot of money to throw these type of events. You can just get a get together, throw some blankets down, and kind of start building a community right there. So I wanted to say some very tangible, if you guys could take away something, but how to throw a really killer event offline with basically no budget. I know there were a few points of this that I spoke to throughout when I was talking about some of the events, but I'll kind of quickly just go through them, right? One, make a goal. So before doing anything, why are you doing this? Is it just to post a cool photo? Is it because you heard someone else was throwing an event, so now you want to do it too? But have something that's really meaningful for you. Secondly, think of a concept that people will actually want to attend. The best way to get people there is by doing something that people want to do, not feeling like, oh, I have to show up to that next dog drop event again. It's like, no, that looks super cool and I'm really interested. The third is, if you don't have a location, which I'm sure this is a problem with a lot of us face, partner with someone who does. So you saw that when we had the pet tech panel at Angel City Brewery. We went to them and we said, hey, Angel City, we're Dog Drop and we're putting together this really cool pet tech event. We're gonna, if you give us your event space for free, we'll bring in like 100 people and they'll buy beer from you, right? What are they benefiting from having their event at your space as well? So always make sure to figure out how you're gonna benefit your partner too. And then to amplify your event is to have more people show up, right? And so the easiest way to have more people show up is to have more people share about it. So if you invite other partners it's also really important that your partners are aligned with your values and audience. If you have a partner that just doesn't match in any way, there's no value to you, and it can also really damage your brand and what you're building, and that can damage your credibility as well. But in that sense, I kind of quickly have here some partners that we've worked with to get things. So for example, we worked with Fix. It's a hard seltzer for one of these picnics, so that we had free drinks for everyone to offer. In the top right corner, you see the the cricket protein treats. So they were able to offer dog treats to all of our attendees, which is awesome. Hey, come to our event. We're going to have free drinks. We're going to have free dog treats. And we also don't have to spend a lot of money. And it's a win-win for everyone because there's a lot of brand discovery going on. Or, hey, we'll come to your location and we'll also help share. So number 5, create an event page, right? So where are you going to? This is more about the logistics, but how to actually have the time, date, location, all the information, and then also to make sure that you're having a lead capture. So a great thing about events is for lead capture, because typically about 30% of people who RSVP will actually attend your event, but you're going to now be getting all these people's email addresses who had interest in your brand. So maybe now you can go back and while you're building your email list and email them about a future event or your product or service in a different way. If you registered for this webinar today, you probably, I think we did it on Eventbrite. You can create a Facebook event. Splash that is an awesome tool as well, especially for the lead capture. And if you create a meetup page. So most of those are free options. Some might cost, I think Splash that's about $10 a month or something. But what I really suggest is use them all. I know when I talked about creating social channels, I said just stick to, one or two platforms because you don't have a lot of time and resources. But if you can on the event, make all of the pages, use Eventbrite, Facebook, Splash that, and Meetup so that you can reach a larger amount of people because you don't really have to manage the event pages yourself. Of course, also you want to post on all your own channels and have more people actually DM everyone, send everyone a private invitation. You can just make a screenshot of your event invitation and DM it to people and share it out. And make sure you're utilizing your partners. So make sure that you set, this criteria and expectation. So all partners, if you're going to be a dog treat sponsor, make sure that you're posting 3 times a week about our event and that you're going to send out an email blast to your audience, right? So that everyone's leveraging their own channels and audience. 7, build hype. And I think this comes down to your personal brand and community. At Dog Drop, we're super excited about things all the time and bringing people together. We love to share what our dog members are doing and make people, it's a sense of FOMO, right? If you're not at that event and you see all the photo with all the dog influencers, it's like all the cool dogs in LA are going to an event. Like, I want to bring my dog too, or my dog's going to miss out. Okay, so Sasha just asked, what's a good time frame for planning to execution of event? That's a really great question. I am also saying things in a realistic way for startups. So if you're a corporate company or something, you're going to have a very different timeline. For us, I say minimum 4 weeks. I say 6 weeks is good. You can do it in 4 weeks. That's what I recommend so that you can pick the date, have all the partners agree to that the date and time and location works for everyone. So you probably have about 1 to 2 weeks of planning before sharing it with people, and try to share it with people within 4 weeks so that you have time to kind of build the hype, create the event page, and also for people to save the date so that they can actually attend. Number 8, like I said, make sure to have a lead capture. So why Splash that is so great for events is because you can capture everyone's email address, but then actually at the event, you want to check people in so you can see who did attend the event. And what's really cool is if you have an outdoor or event in a public space, you'll be seeing people who want to show up to your event who are just walking by, and they'll come by. So now you'll have a spot to get their email address or whatever that information is that you need so you can follow up with them later. I think my number 10 got cut off, which is actually the most important part. So number 10 is follow up. So I'm gonna, got a little cut off here. There we go. This is super important. You just did all this work, maybe 4 to 6 weeks of kind of checking in and managing this event. And now people came, you had an awesome time, but follow up. So go back to number 1. What was the goal of this event? And now make sure that that happened, and then follow up with people. So that can be a post-event email, etc., however you choose to. Susan said, for events in public spaces, have you gotten permits? I know Seattle is crazy about permits, which are expensive. Great question. I know in LA, typically if you have about over 100 dogs, you need a permit. It's different in each city, even from Santa Monica to Pasadena. If it's a problem with the cost of the permits, you can also see if your attendees want to pay. We've done events where maybe they pay like $5 to show up. so that it helps even out the cost. I don't know. We threw an event, the permit was like $150. It's, I think, different everywhere. I would be on the safer side and make sure you're getting permits, especially because we're working with animals. So here it is. It's offline meets online and online meets offline. I'm going to go quickly back to Sasha's question. What about in dog parks, dog beach? That would be simpler. No. Dog parks are sometimes private. It depends. We've had also a lot of events at the dog beach. It's all possible. Just make sure you're in a safe place for the dogs. So it's definitely a decision. If you think that you can, manage a safe group play with everyone, I think that might be a good option too. So when we do all this work for an offline event, we also want to make sure that the buzz continues and the hype continues, right? And so that's where the online part becomes really important. So if you have an event offline, are you having everyone sharing, right? Do they all know your Instagram? Are they tagging you? Are they using your hashtag? And then now more people, all of those dogs followers are watching, and then they're going to make sure they go to the next event because they feel that major FOMO. And then also for the online communities, and this works it's a catch-22 where we don't know what happens first, is where people meet and maintain the relationships. So what we're really doing at Dog Drop is facilitating a platform for dog parents to make new friends with other dog parents. So sometimes people see who's commenting on our page or what other dogs are attending Dog Drop, and they are realizing, oh, their dog loves that dog. And now those parents are talking. And this also happens offline. And now they're exchanging Instagrams. And so that kind of continues to build the engagement. So I want to share, if you do something offline, of how it's just as critical to share online. So this is actually installation, an artist mural done at our first location by the most famous artist he's done some awesome murals throughout LA and actually all over the globe. He has about 155,000 followers. So it's great to have an artist that was, for us, to find someone, one, local in Los Angeles, and then second, who has a big following so that he can share it and also has some type of virality as well. And then, so then when people come into our first Dog Drop location, they're actually sharing, let's see, right here. So we're making sure everything we do offline, right, again, is amplified online. So now every time someone goes into a Dog Drop, they're like, I want to take the photo and the hot air balloon because I saw Taco take that on Instagram too. And what it comes back to, and I think, sorry about that, stuff. I think I just want to end this before we go into Q&A, and it got messed up, is community building worth it for you, right? So I would ask yourself, can community building lead to conversion and engagement and retention? And if it can, it's worth it. And if not, what are all those other things doing, right? Is the brand awareness paying off? Is the credibility and trust? Is the customer success and discovery? If all of those items are not leading to conversion and engagement and retention, community building might not be right for your business. So I think before dedicating, because it does take a lot of time and energy to start building a real, genuine community, I would ask yourself that question. So we'll open it up for Q&A, and if you haven't, feel free to give us a follow and check out our website as well, dogdrop.co.
Awesome. Thank you, Shayna. If anyone wants to jump on and unmute themselves and ask questions, definitely feel free to do that. You can also type in the chat box and we can read those out loud. We'll just keep the call open for as long as people have questions until 1. We got a question.
Okay, so Perry said, were there any marketing activities you felt were not valuable? Yeah, for sure. We had a event maybe 12 weeks ago or so, and we had a lot of RSVPs, maybe 50 people RSVP'd. It was a smaller, more intimate event. I think probably we were expecting 15 to 20 people to show up, and like 2 people came. So it's also a hit or miss. It's not going to be a success 100% of the time. We try to throw events every 4 weeks or more. And so you're not going to get a 10 out of 10. But that's no reason to say that you can't do it again. And then for us, it's okay, evaluate, right? Were we not promoting it enough? Was this a boring event idea? Like every concept isn't going to be 100%. So you can also reach out to people who did or didn't RSVP and say, oh, why did you end up not showing up to the event, even though you RSVP'd? And why did you end up even not RSVPing? And some people, it'll be like, oh, the time didn't work out. But you can also learn a lot from people and then maybe come up with something different next time. Okay. Any idea to promote our dog treats offline in Vancouver, Canada? Oh, I think a lot of ideas, right? Maybe you might have got some from what we're doing. Are there any partners you can work with? So what's so special about your dog treats, right? Do you have a specific value proposition? And are there other brands and partners that are aligned with that mission that you can work on and share? So for us, especially as a small company, working with brands that already have an audience that has trust and credibility with them. If you can partner with a different brand, maybe that could be a good idea for an event. I know a lot of people do a lot of things at dog parks or other meetups and stuff, but I think it's important, especially people with dog treat or dog food companies, to say, okay, we're not just going to give out a million samples, but how is someone going to follow up and buy this again? So maybe you hand out one dog treat to my dog Poppy, but where's the other information? So now I'm going to go online later and actually buy your brand rather than just taking your free treats.
Any other questions? Oh, there we go.
Okay, Dan, if you are a brand of treats and just want to help sponsor or promote an event, what's the best way to approach? Just reach out directly. Yeah, I think if I'm understanding your question right, there's some event going on. Let's say Dog Drop is hosting a big dog event, and now Dan wants to be a sponsor at our event. I think reach out to the host directly, whether if you can find a way to get a hold of them, whether that's on Instagram, an email address, even if you look up the brand on LinkedIn and you can find out, okay, who runs Dog Drop. If you search on LinkedIn, I might pop up, and you can send me a message or find out my email address that way, and just be straightforward about what you want to do. I think the main thing people look for when building partnerships is just to be very clear of the process, right? So say directly how you want to be engaged and what you can offer them. So if you're able to offer 200 quantity 200 or whatever that offer is in your wheelhouse, if you can just be upfront as possible. Susan, are there any tools that you have used to manage your social channels, email marketing, etc.? Yeah, so good question. For social media, I know a lot of people use Buffer. I used to use Buffer a lot. It really helps you with your scheduling. Like I said, we were trying to do that when I wanted to do every social media channel because I thought that could be a good idea. But really, I just decided to focus on Instagram because that's where our audience was most active. So Buffer is very helpful for social media scheduling. In terms of email marketing, we use Klaviyo. I used MailChimp before. I'll just be honest, my MailChimp account, I lost the password. I don't know why. There wasn't a big reason why. So I think they're all kind of helpful to a certain extent. Stefan, what do you think about engaging local veterinarians with your brand? Will they help? Stefan, what is your product or service? Is it a treat? Also, are the local veterinarians credible? Do they have, he has a supplement? I think it could help. I'll share a story. So Brett Podolsky, who's a co-founder of the Farmer's Dog, he's an advisor to our company at Dog Drop. I know when he started the Farmer's Dog, he started going to a lot of local veterinarians and talking with them and, giving them, helping them learn more about what their product is at Farmer's Dog. So I think it's been seen to be successful. Farmer's Dog is doing quite well. That might work out. Okay, any ideas to promote a telemedicine platform? How to engage pet owners and also vets? So that seems like a B2B, B2C play. So I think, Stefan, this might help you as well, and some other folks out there who have a product or service that can also be business to business and business to consumer. Any ideas to promote a telemedicine platform? So I think one, identifying who is your customer, right? And I'm guessing that's probably anyone with an animal. But then we need to narrow it a bit more, right? Are these people already interested in health? You want to discover them as a preventative measure? Is that before their dog gets sick or hurt? Or is it after the fact? So, oh shoot, now Poppy is sick and now I'm looking for a solution. So I also consider, when do you want to meet that customer, especially for a lot of dog health brands, so then you can think of it, whether it's before or at the time of need, and then see where those people are. So if it's before, I think a lot of like puppy training classes, you want to get right when people get a dog, they're learning new behaviors. So is that when they're rescuing a dog? Is that when they're getting the dog from the breeder? How can we get them on your telemedicine platform right away so that they're always part of it? Okay, Dan, do you have an estimate about how much it costs you, a subscriber, and a paid user for events you organize, including market price, time you and your team spends on organizing, attending, following up, how it compares with only online social media marketing cost? Oh, that's a very specific question. So I think that's a good, really valuable thing. For us, okay, there's a few things. And I ask people actually this a lot when it comes to PR and how much efforts they are putting in PR and what's the actual return of it. To be honest, I don't have a dollar amount of what it cost us. I know though, we're very strict on our time management. So I say, I'm going to create an event. Me and my co-founder, let's sit here and plan this event. Let's give ourselves 2 hours. Let's identify partners that can work well with us. Let's reach out, try to find a date, right? So maybe we give ourselves, allocate 2 hours of that planning. And then for part one, okay, or part two, let's create an event page. It shouldn't take you more than an hour tops to create an event page on all of the platforms that I mentioned. So I think it's really important to be disciplined with your time. And so you're not spending so much time on the management process. I think for us, we can plan an event with less than 15 hours total. We've also done it a lot. Your first ones are going to take a bit longer and see how it goes. I can't give you a direct comparison, but that's something interesting. And I think we should be able to look back, and I think that'd be interesting for our team to see what that is. Okay. Do you see more mixed or full breeds in your community trends, and how tech savvy are their owners? Oh, I love this question. So especially in LA, there are so many dogs of X group. For instance, we're hosting in a couple weeks a LA Weenies group. If you saw my dog, you know that I have a miniature dachshund. So we're quite close with the wiener dog community over here. But there are also a lot of other full breed groups. There's a Doodles of LA, Jindos of LA, Pugs of LA, and I'm sure it's, kind of similar in a lot of other cities as well. I think at least from it's all opinion based, the ones with full breeds are quite active, and I think you can go and dive very deep into this. Is this because it's more of like a socioeconomic thing, or people going into breeders a little different than adoption? I think that would be really interesting to learn more about the trends in actually a more data-driven way. How tech savvy are their owners? For what we're seeing, our pet parents are quite tech savvy, so they're all, subscribing online to Dog Drop. I think it also really depends on their age group, right? So it depends I don't know what Vincenzo's product or service is, but is it a treat or supplement that any age a dog parent is using? Um, it really depends, but I think most pet owners, most pet parents are quite tech savvy. Anushka, how would you go about promoting a pet healthcare subscription brand? Okay. I think this can go back to what I think Jimena asked about the telemedicine platform, right? So how would we go about the pet healthcare subscription? Um, are there any other brands is it partner with? How to identify who needs this subscription? Is this a service or what is the actual product or service? If you can tell me a bit more, it might help. I'll wait for you to respond. And in the meantime, I'll say it comes back to, I'll just reemphasize when you want, and I say this a lot with healthcare brands, when do you want to engage with your customer? Is that at the beginning of the life cycle of the pet parent? Is that right when they get the pet, or is this at a time of need? And I think from asking yourself that question, you can go, I'm sure a lot of you will always say both because everyone wants to get a new acquisition at any time. But I think you can also, when you're still a younger brand, try to be a bit more focused on one time of acquisition. And so, okay, Dan is asking, has Facebook been significantly less effective for you? So you've chosen Instagram as your main social media platform. Can you compare both platforms and which could be better for a particular type of pet care business? Okay, and I'm gonna look back. I know Dan's the one with the treats, I believe, right? So I'll speak specifically to that. Um, I think Facebook is also really great for community because of people's ability to post on the wall and to engage, where on Instagram, it's actually more in comments and it's a little more difficult for community members to talk, and Instagram's easier for the brand versus one customer. Um, for us, what we have seen is Instagram more active, and I'll let you know why is for at least in our, so we are a hyper localized business, right? Right now we're only in Los Angeles. And so when we're looking for people to engage with online, we're looking at a lot of dog accounts. We see that a lot more people have dog accounts. You can follow my dog, Poppy So Hoppy, on Instagram. She has an Instagram page, right? She doesn't have a Facebook page. So that's why we're engaging on that platform. That's a kind of short answer. Can I compare both platforms? Which would be better for a particular type of business? I also think, Dan, this comes back to the age group. So I know you're dealing with the treats, I believe. This is another Dan. So many Dans. He's in pet care services. Well, same answer then. It depends who is your audience and where are they. So if for us, most of our audience are dogs with Instagram accounts. If you in pet care services are going after, probably a lot of your audience is on Facebook too. But is that same audience active on Facebook pages? So if you're in pet care services and your audience, let's select a demographic, 40 to 60, it could be across the US, socioeconomics, let's say kind of middle age, middle income, everything. I'll go middle across the board. Are those people super active on Facebook pages? Are they active on Instagram? I think you can go from there. Dan is asking, Dan, the pet care service Dan, is asking, do you prefer engaging with pet pages rather than with people ones? Short answer, yes. So this is something I feel this is, I think, quite subjective. So as my brand Dog Drop, I run our Instagram account. I feel a lot more comfortable reaching out to the dog's page than if I were reaching out to Dan himself. So Dan, I'll say your dog is Rocco and I'm going to Rocco's page, I know you're already pretty into your dog, right? You have an Instagram account for your dog. I'm guessing you're pretty killer dog dad. You're loving life. You're posting photos of Rocco all the time. I feel really comfortable to reach out there. Where now, if I go directly to Dan's personal Instagram page, it's like photos of him out to dinner with his friends and stuff with his family and stuff. I don't want to be a brand and reach out directly. I'm a bit more timid, so I'm a lot more comfortable reaching out to your dog. And I think that totally depends. And that's more in a very organic way than if you're going into paid marketing on Instagram. I think it's a little different. So that's also a very subjective answer. So it's completely up to you. I think I overskipped Anushka. She said, ideally a subscription box curated for your pet based on their needs and requirements, but dealing mainly with healthcare products. Okay, well, Anushka, I hope I answered your question above. Let me know if not. Are there also a dogs page on Facebook or Instagram is better for that? Yeah, I think there are a dogs page on Facebook too. I think this is my observation is a bit of an older demographic, and also I see a lot of dogs actually in the UK with Facebook pages who follow us and stuff. So I think it's also very matters geographically as well. So find out where your audience is. I think it's really easy to look up, like someone saying that, you know, you can use your hashtags or you can identify someone. I think in about 45 minutes of messing around, you can find out if you identify the location, what kind of person, the demographics, age group. Okay, Karen. I love Karen. Karen has to go. She's awesome. If you don't know, I'm my canine. They're super cool. Oh, really happy that you joined, Karen. Made my day. Okay. So there are dog Facebook pages. Yep. Okay. Dan, could you give some tips on how to better use hashtags to locate a particular pet owner's their interest location? Yes, they say up to 10% of Facebook pages are for pets. Yeah, Dan, give me an example. Let's workshop this. If we have a couple minutes, I'll spend on Dan. So Dan, tell me, who do you want to reach? So tell me an age. Is this Dan with pet care services or Dan with the treats? Tell me what your product is. Who do you want to reach? Dan with pet services. Give me a kind of the behavior of what someone's doing. He's doing a pet service, pet adoption, lost pets. He's doing it all. We should probably know Dan's company. I'm gonna wait to see who he wants to reach. If there are a certain people, demographics, where are these people shopping, where do they go, and we'll kind of walk through it. In the meantime, if there are any other questions, feel free. Well, I'm waiting for Dan. I'll kind of walk you through what we do at Dog Drop when it comes to how to target people on their interests. I think it's really easy to go on Instagram and identify other checked-in locations. So where are the most popular places people are checking in, and follow from there. What we do, like I said, we have a dog daycare in Los Angeles. So I look at the other local dog parks in LA. I know there's a dog park and arts district about less than a mile away. I'll go to that. I'll see who checked in, who hashtagged arts district dog park, et cetera, and I'll just start following and targeting people that way. So that's just one idea. There's a few other ways you can go about it too. Okay, Dan said, how do you find that a person is looking to adopt a pet? Oh, that's where you have to read their mind. No, I'm just kidding, Dan. I think to see what that might be a bit more, it's a little harder to target organically. I think if you have a little more info on paid search, you'll be searching for people who are looking up like there's a lot of keywords and things, and even blogs. So maybe for you, a good way is to go on blog posts and see what people are commenting. Why should I get a dog? Is getting a dog easy? What to do when I first get a dog? So all of these questions that people ask before they get a dog, there are a lot of Reddit posts and blog posts all over online that you can go on and see where people are learning and considering getting a dog, and find those communities that way. That's probably how I'd start. Somewhat reasonable. Yeah, sure. Okay, Susan, I think this might be we'll take, I think, two more questions. Susan says, if we're all interested in community development partnerships, maybe we can share company names and emails. Awesome idea. Maybe Isabel can organize that and get everyone who was active on today's session and send out. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I recommend, yeah, so we're ending the call in a couple of minutes. If you want to keep talking, the Slack channel is actually a great place to do that. So if you're not already in the Slack channel, I'm gonna put the link into the chat box right now, and you can probably find other people there. You also got Shayna's email, so maybe Shayna, if you want to put it in the chat box again too. She's a great person to connect with. I think it'll be a little bit hard to coordinate everyone specifically. But yeah, I really highly recommend using the Slack channel to keep connecting with everyone. So I put the Slack link in the chat box, and Shane will put her email. And if anyone's still on the call and wants to put their email in, I'm gonna end the Zoom in 1 minute. So you can keep adding those there.
All right, thanks everyone for joining. Hope it was a good use of your time. And also, we're welcome to feedback as well. So Dog Drop, we're just starting. If anyone has any ideas of how we can also better our community, I'd be happy to hear it. Hope you'll give us some follows. I'm seeing some good follows on Instagram. We have Vet Case, Cogni, Pet Minded, Join Doggo. So thanks for following. I'll be sure I'm following you back all right now. Stay active, and let's work together. I think that's a huge part of why we're all on this webinar together, so we can improve our company and build a better community for all pet parents. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. And thank you so much to Shayna. It looks like the Zoom or the Slack link is not working. It's on our website. If you want to email me as well, I can help you with that. But it should be on our website and connected, and you can also find it through the Kinship website.